Here's a look at this first aid kit. I have checked out countless first aid kits on Amazon. I started buying them a few years ago to stock, our cars and our backpacking gear and that kind of thing. This one's pretty good. I mean, it's got a good hard case. I tend to replace out a few things whenever I get a first aid kit just to kind of get it exactly what I like about it. But it has a pair of scissors. It has a few pieces of survival gear, a pea whistle, which actually is pretty loud, and a functioning compass, which is actually pointing due north. That's nice to see. And other includables in here. Check it out. We got our first aid gloves. There's a little sewing kit and some first aid, or some safety pins. There's also a couple of rubbery blister pads. I almost never use those. I always use moleskin. So that's like one thing I would probably end up shifting out of this bag. There's a little carabiner, and this is kind of cool. You got a rain poncho in here. So it's a little bit of a survival kit and a little bit of a first aid kit. If you're into survival stuff, I would go with it. If not, I would definitely switch out some of this stuff, because that's definitely more of like a survival item. And there is a quick freeze pack, a chemical freeze pack. If you're not familiar with those, you just kind of crack them and they get pretty cold. It's not quite the same as ice, but if you don't have any ice, it's a good thing to have. There's also some Q-tips in there. And we're looking over at the other side. I might have mentioned this, but one thing I really love about a good first aid kit is that it's got, just like a good setup, and if you want to customize it, you can, but it's pretty solid. Some of these are like 3 or 4 fold, and I just find them sort of annoying. Moving on with the survival theme, you've got an emergency blanket, which is also good if people go into shock. A bunch of alcohol pads, and there's a couple of these medicated sting relief pads, which are probably something, let me guess. I would guess it'd be kind of like Benadryl. But the rest of these are for cleaning. These are alcohol pads, which I think are really essential. You got some antiseptic under there, and some gauze, and this is a little roll of tape. And then these are the bandages. I usually quadruple the number of bandages in any first aid kit. Like, I'll add a bunch more bandages. This is a pretty good start with band-aids, but I like more. This looks like a breathing. Yeah, this is for doing first aid. If you need to get air into somebody, actual CPR. And this is a bandage and some gauze, and this is a light stick, the glow stick. So more survival stuff. So it's kind of cool if you're looking for a survival themed, like basement kit or bug out kit. This would be a good start. There's definitely room in there to grow, and if you pulled that rain poncho, for instance, you'd have room for a lot more stuff. It's a nice kit, really good. I don't think there's any perfect first aid kit out there because we all want different stuff, but this is a nice start.